Hey, happy Monday, y'all. I thought I'd bring Howl in to say hi for a second. He's not super thrilled about it, but I'm going to let him go now. But figured for those of you who don't have a cat and are quarantined, sometimes it's nice to just, see somebody else's cat. All right, I thought we'd go for something a little bit spooky tonight. Happy Monday. It's a story called The Hand of Glory from England. There is a stretch of land with wide open spaces of heather in the far northwestern tip of Yorkshire. When possible, travelers avoided the area, knowing that both the weather and the men were evil. Superstitions abounded, with the most gruesome being the belief in the power of the Hand of Glory. The Hand of Glory could only be obtained from a man who had been hanged, and it had to be preserved with great care and ritual. The hand must be fresh, wrapped in a piece of winding sheet, and then squeezed to remove the blood. Next, it must be placed in a mixture of powdered salt, saltpeter, and pepper. After a fortnight, it must be removed and set in the sun in a position that would support a candle when fully dried. The candle must be made in part from the fat of the dead man. When the candle was lighted in the dried hand, the owner had within his power to make all nearby persons helpless. One evening, a poor, exhausted woman arrived at an inn and asked for shelter from a threatening storm. Though she could not pay for a bed, she asked to be allowed to rest by the fire until the early next morning, and asked the landlord to set out a bit of food for her early departure. The landlord had just returned from selling sheep at a fair, and with the extra money in the inn, he hesitated to let her stay. But his heart would not allow him to turn her out, and he directed his serving maid to stay up with the woman until she had had her breakfast and departed. The woman traveler sat by the hearth, and the serving maid tried unsuccessfully to sleep on a nearby settle. The woman traveler seemed to doze, but the serving maid sensed that all was not right, and she watched the traveler while feigning sleep. As she watched, with half-closed eyes, she saw the stranger move in her chair, stretching her legs to reveal what appeared to be male breeches and boots. Knowing they had been deceived, she thought quickly and turned over, as if settling into a more comfortable position. Then she pretended to snore gently. Soon the traveler stood up and took from a pocket a dead man's dried hand, set it on the table, and fitted a candle in it. After lighting the candle, the traveler held it over the serving girl and said, "Let them sleep who are asleep, and let them who are awake stay awake." He then set the Hand of Glory down on the table, drew back the window curtain, and said, "Flash out the flame, Hand of Glory." The flame doubled in size, and the robber opened the door and whistled to his companions who were waiting for his signal. Quietly, the brave girl jumped up from the settle, slipped up behind him, and with all her strength pushed him out the door and down the steps. She slammed and barred the door and dashed upstairs to alert her master and mistress. When her pounding did not raise them, she opened the door, rushed to their bed, and shook them roundly. But they slept on, seemingly in a trance. She tried to raise the master's adult son, but he also lay as if dead. She could hear the stranger and his cohorts swearing and planning to break down the door. She quickly abandoned her efforts to wake anyone, and remembering the tales of the powers of the Hand of Glory, she decided to return downstairs and somehow douse the candle in its gruesome holder. Dashing into the room, she spied a bowl of fresh milk and threw its contents over the hand. The candle sputtered out. At once, the family awakened and came downstairs to find the serving girl who told them what had happened. The landlord's son took a gun and went to the window to speak with the men who were still lurking nearby. The traveler brazenly insisted that no harm had been done, and that if the innkeeper would only return the hand, there would be no more trouble. But the innkeeper refused, and when his son brandished the gun, the gang headed for the moors. The gang was never seen again. The family celebrated the bravery of the serving maid, but never revealed the fate of the Hand of Glory. All right, that's all for tonight, folks. Sleep tight.